Yeah. All right, so let's just dig deeper real quick into these, and then all right. So this is one that we didn't really touch on much, but market condition. The market can change. It will change, and it will change suddenly, and you can get erased. It can be game over. As you look at a lot of these, let's say, for example, hedge funds, people raising capital, right? A lot of people raise capital, and they raise it with the intention of appreciation, right? They bought these huge buildings, $1 million buildings, raise funds, and get wiped out. Clear. Okay. We just saw, we posted it here a couple of weeks ago. A building that sold for about 130 million or something just got resold in St. Louis for 3 million. It was only worth the land, right? Somebody lost 127 million, right? That's not an easy loss. Some hedge fund, some corporation, somebody's
more than likely a bunch of somebody's, a bunch of investors.
It was somebody's 401k. That was in the IRA. It got deleted. Right now, there was just a building that just New York City originally bought for 90 million and is now for sale for 30 million. Right? Imagine a haircut somebody's taking. Right? Imagine the people who won't be made whole. So you have to plan for market conditions. That's why I always tell you guys, if you buy with cash flow in mind. Appreciation is very important. If you could buy something that has appreciation and some cash flow, great, but it has to have cash flow. If you buy something that's negatively cash flowing, you have to have a plan to immediately get it to cash flow.
And that's the key, is having those multiple strategies and multiple plans, those contingencies and stuff like that in your plan, right? Like, I know a lot of people, especially when Airbnb really like shot into mainstream and stuff like that, people were buying based on income projections for a short-term rental.
Can't do that.
And I know some people that were in my local market when that was happening that have absolutely lost themselves because the Airbnb market isn't as it is now, but they owe extremely too much money to do anywhere near a positive cash flow in a long-term rental.
Here's the thing. Most of the people I spoke to Canada when I was out there a couple years ago, they were buying with appreciation in mind, right? Rates were low. Okay, we'll be better. Don't really care about cash flow. Now what happens? You're out the deal, right? You're negative. If you were barely cash flowing in, interest rates go up. Now you double the payment. You're spending the money you could be fueling for your future. You're spending that on somebody else's rent to keep them in the house, just to say I own a property. And real estate is an investment tool. It should make you money. I'm a believer. It should always make you money. So be cautious of the market conditions. Right now, we should see, I think I'm predicting right now, we should see some loosening. The market is kind of, I think we're at the peak right now. It'll start to trickle down. We just saw some other countries started to cut, which is good. I know the Fed, our Fed, United States Fed, they're not going to be cutting this time. Probably there's some pressure on them to start cutting. But the cuts will be very small, ladies and gentlemen. It'll be very small. It'll be a quarter point. That will not change your life. It won't. Half a point. It will not change your life. You got to remember, I know here they went up 3/4 of a point every Fed meeting, which was like every 3 months. They were going up 3/4, 3/4, 3/4. A quarter of a point is not going to change much. So right now, I still believe when the market goes down or when they start to lower rates, prices will go up. I mean, we're just waiting on it at this point for prices to go up. So if you can buy, if you can afford to buy, if you can afford to get in, still believe it's one of the best times to do so. Next slide, Seth. Inspections. We mentioned this. #1 deal killer, right? Structural issues, huge. Don't waive your contingency on an inspection. Do not. Mold, outdated electrical systems, outdated HVAC systems, outdated water. Water can be a big one, actually. Plumbing systems, huge one. And as I told you guys, I tried to cheat. I tried to take a cheat code to it. And I was like, oh man, I'll save, it's a nice building, 8-unit building. I'll save a couple $100 by not doing a sewer inspection. $20,000 later, right? $20,000 later, I could have saved myself if I would have did that work, right? So me trying to save 400, 500 cost me 20 grand. Don't make the mistake. Don't take the shortcut. That'll give you more motivation to negotiate on your deal. If I would have known that was there, probably would have knocked up another 5, 10K. It's a big problem. So, you want to go on with the mindset of knowing that things are there. So do not waive the inspection. Termite damage. I just saw a property. I was on TikTok and there was this bug guy, and he goes into people's houses. And he's like, yeah, how long ago did you buy this? And everybody, it seems to be, oh, we bought this during COVID. We paid the over asking price. They waived the contingency. They waived their inspection. House full of termites. Full of termites. Some beyond repair. Right? You spent some people their life savings to buy this home. What do? And so do not waive the inspection. Okay. Next slide, Seth. Seth, you want to talk about title issues? Seth kind of a specialist on this one.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I could probably talk for 5 weeks in a row on different title issues and bring in different people that have had horror stories and stuff like that. Common things that you see there is, unpaid taxes, liens, disputes over property boundaries. That's huge. Property boundaries, zoning, if it hasn't been surveyed recently. A buddy of mine in Petersburg, Virginia, bought a house and hadn't been surveyed in over 40 years. And his neighbor actually built on a property since that survey had happened. Mm-hmm. And a quarter of his neighbor's house was actually infringing on the property. And there was a huge dispute about that. There was a lot of title issues that went with that when he went to go sell that property, because he basically, when he went to go sell his property, he was technically selling a quarter of that other person's house because the survey wasn't done correctly and stuff like that. It was no fault of his own, but it's a huge problem. HOA is another thing that Ray had mentioned, and that's something that I've seen many, many times. It's one of those bills that get lost in the mail and you don't really think about it because it's not a normal reoccurring bill and things like that. And I've seen HOA fees $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 for different fines and stuff like that, because a lot of the houses that I buy are vacant, distressed properties. They're going to violate some HOA restrictions, and they're happy to keep racking those fees up and just put a lien on that property, and that has to be settled before it can change hands. I've seen a $250,000 IRS lien on a house that's worth $60,000. That house just can't be sold. The only way that house can change ownership is if that lien's paid in full. Well, his house is only worth $60,000. I can't buy that house. It killed the deal completely. That same deal, actually, he owned it with a friend of his because he was a single guy. He never got married or anything like that. And he wanted to make it, he thought he was making it easy to transfer when he died and stuff like that to his best friend. Have a will, first and foremost, but most people don't. Anyway, so his friend had 2 collections on his credit for credit cards. And it had been sold off 7 different times to different collection agencies as all these collection accounts happened. But this was all right when COVID first started. Everything was shutting down. We were trying to find a payoff for this one lien. I ended up having to do a search on the LLC that owned the collection amount on the title when they pulled their title report. I had to find that guy. I actually found that guy in Connecticut at his home to find out what the payoff for this lien was so that we could pay this off to try to buy this property. And ended up not being able to buy it because of the IRS lien. But it gets super, super complicated. The probate is probably one of the ones that is the most common ones that will drag deals out and kill deals. And it comes from people not having wills and somebody passes away. As soon as somebody passes away and they don't have a will, but they own real estate, then it's split up between heirs and it's not defined by an actual document, by an actual will. So they have to go through a list of heirs process. And sometimes those heirs die. So Johnny's brother might have gotten 50% of this property. Then Johnny's brother died, but he had 3 kids. Well, they all get 33% of Johnny's 50%. And then one of them have died, right? And so finding out where all these people are, locating these people. We've located people in jail that have interest in properties that we've had to buy. We've actually gone to jail to get documents signed from people so that we can buy properties and sell properties. It's very interesting. But title issues, if you, especially working with motivated sellers and starting to work with off-market properties, you're going to run into them all the time. And that's why I say always buy title insurance, because we bought properties, got title insurance, so they've done their title search and found everything clear. Because when you buy, you want a free and clear title, no liens, no judgments or anything on that title or on that deed. And that's what that insurance is for, saying that we've done our due diligence. Well, they go back 100 years when they do these searches. So when we go to sell that property, something else popped up. Our title insurance saved us from that. But there's so many things that can happen. It's almost inevitable that something isn't going to get caught. So,
well, yeah, I want to share this too. We tell you guys this stuff not to scare you, but as a tool you can use, right? These are all good negotiation tools. If you know this stuff and you're a savvy investor, or at least come off as a savvy investor, you might save the deal and be able to save some money. Some of these issues could be solved with money. A lot of these issues could be solved with money. Maybe it becomes a credit on a deal, right? Maybe you buy the deal cheaper and you put the money on the backside, or maybe the person at least does the work for you. So that way you're not blindsided and have to do this work. That's all we want to do, is just equip you with the most information that you could have to further better your investment journey.
I'll say, especially on the wholesale side, because that's where a lot of my business is with my partners and stuff like that, and where the volume comes from in my business. On that side, the ones with the title issues, the ones that are muddy deals and stuff like that, those are my most profitable deals. And it's because other investors get scared away. Other investors don't understand what the process is, or don't have a team in place that can solve those issues. Most of these title issues can be solved, like Ray said. And sometimes it takes money. Sometimes it takes something a little bit more creative, but almost all of them can be solved. Having somebody on the team that knows what's going on, it's a lot of it's over the top of my head, but I have professionals on my team that fix this stuff.
Yeah.